About to do the intro, you take a big sip of your coffee.
I needed the coffee. It's been a long couple of days.
Been a long couple of days. I've been at home by myself for 3 days. I guess we can give everyone a rundown of what you've been up to. But I've been at home by myself. Sarah has returned from Melbourne with a small massage gun for me.
I have. I've been banging on for ages that you need one because we, like to spoil each other on date nights and we'll give each other massages and everything now and then. But sometimes you ask me to get in there, but I'm not strong enough. So you're harder. And then I'm exhausted halfway through and my hands hurt.
So now you can just put 2 hands behind this and just leverage it straight into my trap.
Yeah.
Traps?
Yeah, traps. Yeah, science. Yeah. But apparently they're actually really, really good for you though.
I don't know about these little ones. This is just battery powered.
Yeah, it's one of those cheapies, one of those little travel portable ones that you can take with you on the flight or, on long road trips or something, just to really even out those knots in your back.
Much cheaper than a real masseuse.
Yes.
And a massage is one of those things that everyone loves.
Yes.
I don't know a person who hasn't ever loved one, right? Obviously, the person giving the massage could be a little, how you going every once in a while, but just a massage in general, no better feeling.
Yeah. Well, you do have some people out there that probably don't like them, but I'm one of those people that absolutely love them because it just relaxes the whole body. It's just nice. It, just puts you in a good mood. 100%.
Does.
Yeah.
I used to always want to get one of those ones out of a Dano's Direct commercial, the ones that are in the shopping centers, the malls, as the Americans call them. The big leather ones with the armrest, and you just sink into it like a panda bear. You just feel like a big panda just sitting in there.
Yeah, it wraps you in a big hug, wraps your legs and everything and just rolls down your back. That would be pretty dope to have one in the house.
That'd be a good hustle.
Oh,
Same as I've been looking at vending machines also. You just buy the thing, then just rent a space in the shopping center and charge whatever, $4, 30 minutes. Pay it back in 6 months, 12 months. Yeah, I used to look at all those Danos Directs. I used to watch the infomercial channel back when we had Foxtel. And also the Avon guide, not Avon, but all those little pamphlets in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
They always used to have the massage chairs. And I was like, one day I'll drop $2,500 for one of those. But we've kind of been looking at not cold plunges and saunas and stuff lately, which is probably better than a massage gun. You can't really make a sauna in a handheld device.
No. You can tell that we're getting older because we're looking at things to make our bodies feel better.
Remedies for ailments.
Yes. I can definitely tell I'm getting older because the work trip that I just had, it was 4-day long, very, very long, 7:45 to 5:45 days.
Yep.
And they have big even, are you right there?
Just checking the audio is running. Oh, good.
Drew's very conscious about this, which is not a bad thing. You always want to make sure it's primo.
You're in
for
Melbourne
everybody.
4 days, yeah.
Yes, I was in Melbourne for 4 days. Very, very long days, 8:45 to 5:45. Then they had events that are compulsory, but not compulsory, but you sort of have to go kind
school.
of thing. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, those events go on to 10, 11, or last night I made a great choice to go out to karaoke, which was probably not the best choice considering we're recording a podcast today, but I was quite conscious that I wasn't screaming, the Spice Girls too loud.
I had to clear the pipes out.
Yeah, I did. Get into that rhythm and everything.
And you went up you did Spice Girl karaoke last night.
I did Spice Girls.
And you didn't film it.
No.
So first of all, we have a new studio here with capacity to play audio and video on this screen, and you haven't prepared anything for us.
I would not horrify people with my singing voice at all.
We could have just played the visual of you and done that, what's the famous lamb? Or not a lamb, a goat?
Just saying blink twice.
Which Spice Girl song? Because last week we did talk about Spice World being one of your top 3 pillar foundational things from youth that shaped you who you become today. So go back and listen to that episode 33.
Girl power. Yeah.
What song did you choose?
It was Zigga Zigga Ah. So I didn't choose the song. There was
It's called Wannabe.
Oh, yes.
How the hell are you a fan?
It's been a long couple of days.
So when you went down the list of songs, you chose Zigga Zigga.
No, I didn't choose the playlist. Someone else was choosing the playlist. They just happened to be choosing great songs.
Right.
Yeah.
Great songs that you don't know the titles of.
Obviously.
Well done, Sarah. You've just ruined your entire credibility about Spice Girls.
It's only my second coffee today.
Right.
I'm trying to.
It is 2:30, but I'll let this spice lapse.
Well, it
slide.
Didn't get back to the hotel till 1:30, 2 o'clock. So a little bit on the tight side.
And what were the kind of songs that were chosen other than, not by you, but what was everyone doing? Modern stuff, old stuff?
It was actually a mix because we had being like work conferences, you got all ages. You had like a lot of people my age. So obviously we had some like
Our
Blink.
age. You
Yeah,
said
our
my
age.
age as if I'm like heaps older than you.
You are. You're like a whole 8
7
months,
months,
7
yeah.
months. Yeah. Whole, it's a huge difference.
Right.
But yeah, there was, we had some Blink. There was like some Kanye in there.
Oh, controversial at the moment. I don't know if you can do Kanye right now.
Why is he controversial?
He's like getting cancelled megally.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah.
because I've been so jam-packed the last 4 days, I have no idea what's really gone on in the media space or...
Well, yeah. He's on, I don't know, he's on one of these crazy tirades again.
Right.
I haven't looked heaps into it, but it is, trending thing on Twitter and social media and stuff right now. Making inflammatory statements about Jews, and
Wow.
he wore like a White Lives Matter jacket to cause some controversy, and something else. I can't remember. But yeah, it was basically a shot at Jews.
Okay. Yeah, not very a good thing. All right, so we didn't sing that. That's fine.
That was last year's one you were doing when he was, last year. Yeah.
Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer, Bohemian Rhapsody. There was a few others, and it was actually pretty tame because I can't drink like I used to either. So I only had like a couple of drinks. I was just tired, but it was fun. It was fun singing in a darkened room.
I don't think I've ever done karaoke.
Oh, really?
No.
Used to do it heaps in the early 20s, but that's
The early 20s? Like the early 2020s or your 20s?
My 20s, my early 20s.
2010s.
Yeah, 2010s. Because I used to live in the Sydney CBD area and just, on the way home, go into like a karaoke
Like
bar.
Chinese ones? Japanese?
I think it's Japanese or Korean potentially.
It's
But-
more Korean.
Yeah, it was one of those things because those karaoke bars, maybe they were under different laws and stuff, but they would always be open past midnight. So you could go there like
And
after
still
the
serve
pub.
alcohol.
Yes, yeah.
Even in like the Sydney lockdowns, this is not even COVID lockdown. This is like Sydney party lockdowns.
This was before that.
Before.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. That makes sense.
Mm. Yeah.
King's Cross.
Yeah, King's Cross back then.
What about strip clubs? Isn't like a strip club in karaoke just like basically the same thing with a partition between one of the rooms?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
I went to the wrong one.
Different things. I've never been to a strip club, so I don't know.
Me neither.
Oh.
I think I went once when I had just turned 18. Oh, actually, no, I was a little bit older, but yeah, once and was not interested.
It's almost, is it a rite of passage for guys back then?
Not in Australia. I don't hear like in America, like bachelor party, strip club, or we've been out partying, let's go to the strip club. It's just not a thing here.
No.
I
Or
don't know.
maybe it's just not your crowd, so it probably
Maybe.
doesn't even seem like
Maybe
a
I just
thing.
know a lot of them and they're all too afraid to admit
Yeah. But
their
karaoke,
love.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like 100%. You know what? I'll
We
take
can
you
do
one
it
time.
here.
We could do it here.
We just need
like the, you have
better
to
songs than Zigga Zigga.
Yeah, Zigga Zigga. Oh, Wonderwall. That was another one. Classics.
So there has to be a cutoff at the BPM. Like Wonderwall is like maybe at like a divorce party or something, or like something slow. Maybe it's a bad example, but like You're my wonder. It's like you can't get your lighter out in the Korean club.
No, but like it's one of those songs that everybody knows and loves singing along to it. It's
I think minimum 90 BPM.
Okay.
Yeah, minimum.
Yeah. One of those ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those ones.
Yeah. Keep it pumping. Yeah.
Any electronic songs? Can you do like Daft Punk, where it's just the same thing repeated over and over? Harder, faster, stronger.
100% they'd have like Around the World on there without
Just,
a doubt. Without a doubt.
Just so the real drunk guys can just keep repeating the same line. And
Exactly.
like by the 20th repeat of that line, they can actually get it right. And the
Yeah.
first 10, 20 times they're just stumbling through the words like I do in most podcasts.
Yeah. Well,
like
that was
this.
like the Gold Digger song because you know how it repeats at the end. They're like, just skip it to the next
We
one.
don't talk about Kanye anymore.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Jesus
My bad.
Christ. touchy topic. So you've been in Melbourne for 4 days. I've been at home running the ship.
Mhm.
I was going to say cleaning the whole time, but really I just let it go astray until last night and then started cleaning as any bachelor would do.
You did
Well,
very well.
temporary bachelor. Temporary.
You did very well. Now the house looks fine. Like,
Yeah.
you did well.
Yeah.
Didn't get it as
Got
many.
to take out once.
Yes.
Got to take out once. Not the worst.
No. And that was last night, and then I got to have the leftovers today, so that's totally
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. That was the plan.
Thank you, baby. Very smart. But yeah, the 4 days were super interesting. I mean, Melbourne's always so lovely going down there. The city's just like heaps cleaner. The nightlife seems a lot more safe. Like we're just walking around and it doesn't seem as like dodgy as like Sydney is most of the time. But it was good.
I think it's more condensed. Like I think it's contained a bit more in terms of like the main streets and the main sections.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney's pretty vast. Like Melbourne's vast, but it's like I feel like it's more contained perhaps. Again, I've only been there like twice and didn't really go partying too much. But it feels like everything's further apart in Sydney perhaps.
Yeah, Sydney.
Like from the main suburbs or whatever.
Sydney is larger, but Melbourne structurally as a city, it's better planned out and better laid out as well. 100%.
More structured and square, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And the public transport system is heaps better laid out. Like for those that don't know, Sydney public transport's like one of the worst in the world.
Is it?
Yeah. 100% is like one of the worst in the world. You're gonna fact check me?
Yeah, I need to do a live fact check.
But they're constantly doing upgrades. They've had a lot of strikes. So like the culture within the staff is really bad as well. But there's always constant upgrades or extending the track lines or even just like decommissioning them and just not even using them anymore. There's always so many delays and electrical issues and
strikes and stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So Sydney public transport or just trains in general are just super bad. Whereas in Melbourne, you have trains, yes, but you've also got trams, which is like a huge thing. And it's always funny because I grew up in Victoria and whenever we go down, people are like, oh, trams are so weird. I'm like, it's actually pretty decent.
I've been on one once and it seems like a very convenient way to get around because it can't be impacted by the normal traffic, right? Like it's just on time most of the time. It's just always on time. You know you're going to get there. You're not held up by an accident or something. Yeah,
you have to always give way to trams as well.
Yeah, because we drove down, me and some friends drove down for an AFI concert 2008 or 9 maybe. And yeah, we drove from Sydney down there overnight. It took like 10 hours. Then you get into the city and it's just like, okay, the road rules are a little different here. You got to turn right from the left-hand lane. You can drive on the tram tracks, but you got to like get off. Like I didn't fully understand what was going on. And yeah, very stressful. Very stressful.
100%. And yeah, you can U-turn like no tomorrow in Melbourne. Like it doesn't even matter. But someone was telling me a story like the first time they went down, they didn't realize you had to give way to trams and stuff. So they were driving and they accidentally sideswapped it on the tram. So the tram driver stopped and like they stopped and they were like, so what do we do in this situation? Because like we're from Sydney. And the tram driver was like, well, you can either get a $350 fine for every minute I'm stopped.
Oof.
Or you guys can leave and just pay the excess on your rental vehicle and stuff. So they were like, we're going to go. Because every minute the tram driver stops, you get fined. Yeah. That's how like serious they take it.
Wow.
I'm not sure. This was like quite a few years ago. So I'm not sure if it's the same now. If anything, probably the fine would be heaps more. That's pretty full on.
Yeah. Like if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I'm going to owe this rental place this much, or I could be here for an indefinite amount of time.
100%.
At $350 a minute.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
350. Yeah. So much.
That's some good rates. That's like some Jeff Bezos, not even close to Jeff Bezos. That's like 1/100th of what Jeff Bezos would make per minute.
Yeah.
Insane.
Crazy.
He could afford it.
Oh, 100%. Sideswipe trams all day long.
Just get out and walk away. So, yeah. Jeff Bezos, I don't know where that came from.
No, that's fine. Well, it's maybe because he's like, he can totally afford it, so it doesn't even matter anyway.
Who could afford this?
Who's the most richest person that I can think of right now? Bezos.
And it still would be like nothing.
Yeah.
$350 a minute. Jeez.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money. Yeah. But Melbourne, beautiful. Highly recommend it for anyone that hasn't gone. Yeah, it was a really nice 4-day event.
We should visit other cities because that's the only one I've really been to in my adulthood.
Been to Brisbane?
Not since I've been an adult.
Okay.
Just probably the last 14 months now.
Oh, yeah. You've been to the movie worlds and those kind of things.
Yeah, but I was like 8.
Yeah.
You missed my joke, but anyway.
Oh.
We need to like go to other cities. Like Melbourne's cool, but like there's more on offer. Like Tasmania's up there we want to go to. Perth would be cool, but it's like pretty expensive and I don't know if it'd be that good in comparison to some other places that might be more suitable for us and our lifestyle. I think Queensland, but it just seems too hot. I'm just making excuses to not travel to any of them.
No, that's fine. Tasmania
too
is definitely
cold.
No, Tasmania for sure. It's beautiful down there.
We need to thrift some more North Face jackets.
Yes.
To go there.
Oh, that actually reminded me. You know how the other day you were talking about Patagonia and how the company sold, like how the dude like gave away his...
Okay,
profit.
This is the thing with the pod now. We've got a new studio, right?
Yeah.
We've got new tools, right?
Mhm.
So anything we're bringing up, that's like, we're going to linger on it for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and we actually aren't the best at communicating or have the story down completely.
Mhm.
Let's bring it up on the TV and read off so we sound more
Professional
and just giving accurate info.
That's fair.
Not a shot at you. I do it just as much.
No, I know.
So I know what you're talking about, right? So
Yeah.
Patagonia.
Yes, because one of the aspects of the conference that we went through, like a big thing in business at the moment is like purpose, finding your purpose statement, really like having that clear vision. And you have some like really cool OGs in the market, like, you know, Nike have like a really good purpose statement, like Amazon has a really good one, like Walmart, and they're like the big companies for a reason. And then Patagonia was one of them that popped up as well, which I thought was
sustainability, the importance of, I mean, these big businesses that are turning over so much in terms of, in this instance, textiles and clothing, the turnover, and trying to be more sustainable with the type of products they're producing and promoting. So yeah, we can read through this if you want, to give a bit of insight into what we're talking about here. Yeah,
100%. So like with this one here, like the biggest thing, so one of their purpose statement was
what sorry, I don't know if you prefaced the info or not. What's happened?
Well, the CEO sold it, essentially.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get you to read the title. Sorry.
Gotcha. So billionaire boss gives...
Not trying to be rude here, just trying to get concise info to the listeners.
So billionaire boss gives fashion firm a way to fight climate change, which is absolutely amazing. What CEO does that?
This guy, Yvon Chouinard, I don't know how to pronounce that, said any profit not reinvested in running the business would go to fighting climate change. So yeah, he's basically handed over all ownership to like all the profits to be forwarded to attacking climate change.
Yeah,
from Patagonia, the brand. So this is a heap shit explanation of the story.
But with what happened was, so they put it into like I was saying before, so like their purpose statement was like creating sustainable things, make it better for the environment. And because their cult following and the people like really invested, now what he's done is he's put like pretty much like 97% in a trust.
Yeah.
And then like 3% for like future family and things like that. But that 97%, he's like, this company now belongs to the earth. It doesn't belong to him anymore. Like he's done his purpose, and now this company belongs to the earth to help make it a better place and get it back to like where it was, which I thought was absolutely amazing.
Is it going to, like, obviously it's going to make a huge difference, right? You're saying it will amount to around 100 million a year, depending on the health of the company. Are people that love Patagonia going to go harder now? Are they going to buy more? Is it going to make a difference to the sales? Or is the sales going to sit around the same and it's just a better outcome of the business? Like, obviously it's a better outcome. There's more profits going to that. But is it going to increase sales? Are people going to flock to the brand that previously didn't wear Patagonia because of this announcement? I don't think so. It's just going to solidify and strengthen the people that are already like passionate about the brand.
I think so. I think it's just serving their audience. Because if you think about it, like I like to think I'm quite eco-conscious. So if I went into a store and I was faced with two options, one was made from like recyclable materials and one was made like fresh, I'm always going to go for that recyclable materials one. Like that's just the type of person I am. And like that's the type of, I guess, culture he's helped, and like that's the fan base that he's had. And something that I read the other day, which is really interesting. Do you know that protesters for like climate change or environmental issues, if they're non-violent and get arrested, Patagonia will pay your bail?
Really?
Yeah, but it has to be non-violent, which is fair, like totally fair.
How do you prove that? You got to have video footage of the end from you getting out of your house.
I guess it'd be on your arrest as well, like what you'd be arrested for, so like peaceful protesting.
So like
or
a police officer's never written down a false
of course.
statement before, right?
Yeah, but like they would have footage and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm just always skeptical of these things. But also North Face, I think I showed you this last week. It was on the back burner for a potential article to discuss. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it here. Yeah, here we go. North Face is doing a similar thing. They're not donating profits to climate change and stuff like that, but they are trying to approach the design of their products with a more sustainable outcome, basically called circular design or circular fashion, in terms of getting more use out of product, more recyclable products used in the making of new products and stuff like that, or donation centers where they can upcycle the existing products. There was already, I was reading, North Face had a whole crew that was committed to repairing people's items and just started becoming more and more popular. So like, why don't we can minimize our need to do repairs by creating better quality products up front. So North Face is launching a new version of its Take Back program later this month and introducing a labeling system that educates customers or consumers about repair, reuse, and recovery. So it's just about information and education. Like, that's the first thing for any sort of public health change. This is something I learned when I did nutrition at uni. Anytime you want to do some sort of big change in the way consumers behave, is just education. So like, obviously people are going to love buying North Face, love buying it, but as soon as you can start introducing education about what they're buying and why it's a good option, that sort of info just spreads, right? And it's just word of mouth. Like, people are gonna be like, oh, more and more North Faces secondhand or using more recyclable stuff. And like you said, when you're faced with an option and you have the information to decide, that's where it comes. You need to have the information first, right?
100%. And that's up to the companies to provide that information or to provide that branding so people can make that choice. And I think a lot of these companies like the North Face, the adventure, the outdoors, they really hear, I guess, what their customers are saying in a way and being like, we need more sustainable options long term if we're going to keep supporting you.
Yeah. And these two brands, Patagonia and North Face, are not like cheap brands. They're like big brands that serve a purpose. Like, they're mostly used for like outdoor and hiking sort of activities. So you need them to last. You don't just want to rock it for a couple of months and let it rip out. So I think brands like Levi's or some of the big apparel companies. You checking the audio?
Yeah.
Thank you. Doing my job. A lot of these big apparel companies doing similar things, which is awesome. But, that's just one aspect of life, is just clothing. So it's like, how far can you extend that?
Mm-hmm.
Where using or introducing sustainability practices into businesses is a sustainable in itself, in terms of being able to continually be sustainable. You need that ability to sustain that, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
You can't just stop. You can't just do it once or twice and stop. You need to be able to sustain the sustainability.
Yeah. And that customer, no, it's fine. And that customer that customer base needs to see that progression over the years as well. And with companies like that, they have like a really, conscious choice to actually make that. And some other buzzwords and things that are being thrown around is like the whole aspect of modern slavery when it comes to like textile manufacturing as well, which is pretty full on. Like, you have all these women in Bangladesh getting paid like below minimum. So again, it's like these companies, it's their job or their due diligence to make sure that where they're sourcing their materials as well is ethical.
It's transparency.
Yeah.
But how much of a transparent story do you get from the workers or from those factories? You get it from the higher ups and the type of products they're using and the type of initiatives they're starting to implement, but you don't see it from the ground floor. You see it from the top floor.
Yeah. I guess it's when it's those third-party companies that come in and do those investigations.
Log it. Throw a couple of GoPros and a couple of one stuff to do a 24-hour stream of the factory. North Face, 24-hour textile factory. You can just watch. Same as like a live cam for like a farm or something. You know how some farms have live cams for their chickens and pastures and stuff? Do it for the businesses.
There's actually that reminds me, I can't remember, it was like a TikTok account. I have to find it one time, but it's like a bear watch one. So it's like this, I think probably in Canada or somewhere like that, they have like a cam set out in the wild and it just watches like wild bears like coming through, and they have like, oh, old Betty's back again this winter or things like that. It's super adorable. But yeah, could you imagine if it's in factories or that kind of thing for that full transparency?
Yeah.
And I think that's what the world is wanting now more and more than ever.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think it's the people that have wanted it in the past are probably the same, if not more, sort of eager to get that. But I don't think the masses really care. There's just too much going on to care.
But like, you have all these...
Like, they might care, but they're not going to investigate or like do the deep dive to make sure it is legit. They're like, oh, yeah, that's cool. But they're not going to be like, let me like fully suss this out. Like, how many people do you know that investigate brands before they purchase from them? Like, is Coca-Cola ethical? Like Gloria Jeans, like there's all these, some companies that have so many backhand deals and negotiations with like different political parties, left and right, or extreme groups, this and that. So it's like, you'd like to think that people are transparent, or like care about it And they kind of do, but they don't care enough to like do the research.
That's very true. And I know I can be quite guilty of that. You take the easy option rather than actually finding out where it's coming from.
Convenience is always going to win. And it's very convenient to subscribe to this podcast right now while you're listening to it in any app you're listening to.
It should be
Spotify,
right there.
Apple, YouTube. Hit that subscribe button right there.
Right in there. No problems.
See that little...
Yeah, nice little plug there. Very good. Still got it. Still got the old socialness of it all.
So Melbourne for 4 days. What, like, you're on a work thing. I don't want to dive too much into what you were doing there or what you do for work or stuff like that, but you wanted to touch on some things that you were talking about. So sustainability was a big aspect of what they were sort of talking about.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's like I was saying, like, purpose is like a huge aspect that a lot of companies are striving for. I know that before we were bringing back this podcast, we were really striving to find like the purpose of why to create content in the first place as well. So it's not only at the big corporations, but it comes down to like our levels as well. Like, what's our purpose for creating this content? Like, what's our purpose like within our lives? Like, it's a huge question. So it makes sense that people question it personally. So why not question it in a business?
Yeah.
And they find that like businesses that don't do that don't succeed. They had like this really cool comparison against Adidas and Nike. Like, Adidas has a super generic one. We want to create like the best, you know, activewear for our consumers so they can have the best performance activities ever. And then Nike's like, actually, I've got a photo, I think.
Yep.
I'll read it off. Just give me 2 seconds while I should have had that one ready.
There's such a polarizing effect of these sportswear brands like Nike and Adidas. Like, even myself thinking about it the other day, for those that are listening perhaps for the first time, I don't know too much about what we do. Sarah works full-time in a retail business, and I work full-time selling secondhand clothing, which is kind of why we're talking about clothing in this episode. And we do sell a lot of these sports brands, Asics, Nike, Adidas, Puma, all that sort of stuff. And it's a noticeable difference in how loved Adidas is compared to Nike. Like, people love Nike way more, and the product quality and just the designs, I feel like, are a little bit more unique with Nike. And yeah, just yesterday, I was looking at an Adidas shirt while I was listening. I'm like, the Adidas logo is garbage compared to the Nike one.
Yeah.
Like, you have the trefoil, the sort of 3-leaf one. You have the 3-line, like the staircase type of one. They're just crap.
Yeah. You do find some really cool Adidas designs and jackets.
The designs
and
are cool,
stuff.
but the logo itself is just like, Nike for some reason just has the edge. I don't know if it's because it's the whole Phil Knight thing, which we talked about in a very old episode. But I just feel like Nike is easier to love.
100%. And when you hear like their purpose statement, makes so much sense.
Right.
So to bring inspiration and innovation.
Start with the shit one. Start with Adidas.
Well, I don't have the Adidas one.
So you rehash the Adidas one.
So the Adidas one was just very like a normal like corporate sort of, we want to create like the best activewear to support our consumers so they can, you know, have the best performance. Yeah, exactly. Where this one here is...
This is Nike.
This is Nike, yeah. To bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. If you have a body, you are an athlete.
So it's inspiration as opposed to Adidas was more...
Just like process.
Service.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're just going to serve you with this item. We're not going to inspire you to like be a better athlete. We're just going to give you the tools to like perform the way you're already performing.
Yeah. I should have taken a photo of the graph, but it's like, because of in the past like year and a half, I think it's like in the past 5 years, like Nike has like pretty much tripled or quadrupled their profit earnings. And then Adidas has only gone up by like a really small percentage. So whatever Nike's doing, it's definitely working for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting. Like this is a podcast that I haven't actually checked out. I know it is on the subscribe list, but there's so many podcasts to listen to. There is a podcast here called Business Wars, and they break down competitive players in different markets. In this case, sneakerheads, Nike versus Adidas. So if you're looking for a bit more info and more research stuff than what we can provide, something like this would be a great podcast to sort of see the breakdown and comparison side by side. But even that's only a 19-minute episode. You could probably do hours and hours comparing the two brands and the history and the different athletes and sponsorships they've had over the years. And, you know, Nike might just be bigger and have a more clearer purpose and vision simply from just being kind of the first in America and the first to like take over an entire industry of like Jordan and like the Jordan shoes and like the whole Jordan brand and that whole era, Adidas never had like a pillar athlete to like propel them to that worldwide level.
And you think of like Phil Knight, where he's just like, he's so what's next? What can I do? What can I make better? That kind of thing. And you can really see that translates into their branding as well.
What wasn't in that, I mean, this is one of our older episodes was about Shoe Dog and Phil Knight back when we were doing book reviews.
Trying out book reviews.
Reading book reviews, but I believe wasn't Adidas competing with Puma? Weren't they two brothers?
Yes, they were.
So perhaps there's that aspect as well. Adidas had a immediate competitor and just trying to one-up Puma the whole time, and Nike was just doing its own thing, innovating, creating a more thought-out purpose and vision for the long game. So a bit of sneaker history there. The Dazzler Brothers feud, it was called. I think they were two German brothers.
Yes, they were.
So purpose, right? So important. Like I said, we were trying to, before we revived this podcast, we're going back and forth. What are we doing? What's the vision? Like, why are we creating this? What's the purpose for the viewer on the other end and for us, right? It's super, super important. And we got to the place where it's like, I guess we don't really have it right now. We're just like working through the motions of getting the business really, really nice and tidy and optimized around our life. And then the podcast, I guess, how would you describe this podcast now?
Well, this one here, like just to touch on what you were saying before, is like beforehand, we're trying to fit our lives into content in a way. But now what we're really trying to do is fit the content around our lives, making sure it doesn't take over. So like for this podcast here, we want it just to be like a good chill down chat, just anything that we're super interested in, or we actually haven't a chance to have in a long, in-depth conversation about. Because every now and then I'll read an article, I'll be like, oh, Matt, I can't wait to tell Drew about this. And then we get home, start working or whatever, and I completely forget about it.
Yeah.
But now I take a little note and be like, Matt, I'll be able to talk about it during the pod.
Yeah. I think we've gone through a couple of iterations in our interim while we were away, right? Like there's life purpose and then there's like
business purpose?
Sort of business, but more just like, I guess, kind of like hustle purpose, I guess would be a broader way of saying it. So it's not solely business related. Mm-hmm. Life purpose is like anything around home, relationships, that sort of thing. And then this is more just like a hustle purpose. And like we're going back and forth, like what do we want to do? Do we want to become experts in something, knuckle down into a niche for 5 years, keep producing content about something we're interested in, but not 100% set in stone that we want to do forever? Or we can just like play the cards that we've been handed right now and just move through these sort of different projects we're doing with just the purpose of just having fun and learning and experiencing, as opposed to trying to build something significant. And like basically taking expectations out of everything is kind of the purpose that we're doing at the moment, as opposed to having a huge business plan, a huge purpose statement that would mean a lot, but right now it's just not something worth pursuing, if that makes sense. Not a very clear answer, but I just feel like we're just trying to chill and have fun at this point in our lives, as opposed to like knuckling down on one specific thing, like creating Nike or like creating a brand or a business. It's like we just want to have fun doing what we're doing until the opportunity presents itself, and that's when we create a new purpose for that particular product or brand or project or whatever we're doing. So it's just something that everyone's sort of grappling with. We follow a bunch of YouTubers, like higher up ones, and they're always dealing with the problem of what's my purpose? Like I've been doing this content for 5-10 years and now I don't want to do it anymore. Like everyone's always kind of trying to rediscover it almost. Like it's like elusive.
Yeah.
Unless you're a huge brand and you've got so many years of support behind you and evidence of like proven products and proven relationships that work, where you can create a specific purpose. But I think, yeah, it's constantly changing, especially the smaller the business or the person is. If it's just a 1 or 2 or 3 person team, it's harder to pin down, I feel.
Yeah. When it's that individual, because all you have is yourself and like how you feel, your own like lived experiences, like that's where you get your purpose from. But if you build yourself a company, or if you build yourself a team, or even like a 2-person team, you've got 2, I guess, levels of inspiration to really bring together to create that purpose. Because if it's just one person, that's so stressful. And that's where a lot of the creators fall into that burnout trap in a way, because they're always striving to, redefine themselves or define themselves in a particular niche or in a market. And then all of a sudden they find themselves at the end of the line and they're like, I don't know what to do anymore.
It's a very common thing I've been seeing heaps more in probably the last 6 months. I think there's a whole transitional period that everyone's going through now post-COVID in terms of online presence. Everyone sort of had a year to figure out, what do I really love? I'm at home. What can I do? What do I really want to do with my life? And I feel like a lot of people tried what they wanted to do for a year or two and are now like that experiment's played out. Like life's back to normal now. And they've either not doing it anymore, what they sort of wanted to do during COVID, the new direction wanted to do, and they're falling back into a place of uncertainty with their purpose, which is like what we were doing as well. Like I feel like everyone's sort of in that trap at the moment. But yeah, like you said, the smaller the team is, it's harder to pin down. And I think at the end of the day with content creation, everyone's just people. We're all people. We're all change. Every decade we're into new interesting hobbies, new life experiences, traveling. There's just so many things that shape you and change you as a person that it's extremely hard to commit a whole life to like one thing. Like Mr. Beast, for example, like he's dedicated his entire life to like just being the best YouTuber. It's so rare that someone can like have that much focus and that much commitment to like one thing or one niche for so many years. And I think that's the trap. People are like, oh, that person's killing it. They did it this way, but it's very rare. There's so many aspects to people's lives. And I think that's where the purpose for us anyway, for me, it's confusing because you're just like, I've got so many things. How do I create one purpose? You can't. You can create purpose on the things around that. And then you sort of try and tie it into one thing. Like it's a tricky thing that I've personally been battling with, and you've been helping me figure out what I want to do and what we're doing as a couple and a group for the different projects and stuff. But yeah, it's just people forget that we're people, and it's very rare that you're going to be this one-trick pony and the best in the world at it, right?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I've seen it a lot in the last probably month. There's just big content creators pivoting, stopping doing YouTube, doing podcast. It's something people don't talk about that much.
No.
And there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a good thing that people change and have new interests and new hobbies. Like, I'm glad we took 6 months off, 9 months off this pod, because it gave us time to think and go through the motions of let's start a business, let's not, let's do this, let's not, let's do this, let's not. And at the end of the day, we're just like, fuck, let's just sit down and do the chats. Yeah. No expectations, no rules, just have fun with it. If something amazing presents itself and a clear purpose is presented, then we'll go down that road. But for now, it's just let's have fun with it.
Yeah. And I think that's what sort of unintentionally happened is like when we're trying to breathe these ideas to life, we actually gave them room and space to really like how we felt about them.
We gave them time to blossom and fizzle out if they didn't make sense.
Exactly. Yeah. So we had this conversation like, did we just waste the last, 9 months and that kind of thing? And like, yes and no in a way, because we've, like you said, we've gone through so many different versions of like what we can create, like, maybe where the business can go, where it can't go.
There's just too many possibilities and too many rabbits to chase.
Yeah. You could plan as much as you like. You can have like, all right, this is my path. This is my vision. This is what I'm going to be doing. And that works for some people. And then you've got some people that will be like, no, this feels right. I'm going to go with my intuition. This is how I feel. I'm just going to make these decisions and see how it turns out. Like you've got the super structured mindset of just like head down, working so hard, trying to get there. And that's what we were sort of almost stuck in a way. We're just like hyper-focused on just working in the process. And we forgot the fun, not the fun part, but we forgot the enjoying it along the way as well.
It's the whole phrase of, enjoy the journey, not the destination. The destination seems like a payoff, but the destination keeps moving. Like this is just cliche tropes that we've heard a million times. And it's so true. Like, I don't know, I feel like we were getting just lost in the weeds for like what we could do. And like, I was just creating avenues for like, we can do this in 2, 3, 4 years. We could be doing this, and this. But it's like, that means these other 3 things won't happen. And then this will happen. And it's just like, fuck, it's just too overwhelming. Like, 'cause I feel like it's a post-COVID thing. People seeing the possibilities in COVID, dabbled a little bit and then pulled it back. And now everyone's going back to normal in terms of going back to their 9 to 5, working less from home, going back to the office. And people are are sort of just falling back into the old ways almost, instead of like embracing the new opportunities. And like the problem with me is I see too many opportunities.
You do.
And there's just not enough time in the day to do that.
Yeah, and there's always going to be opportunities, 100%. There's going to be so many out there. And like during COVID, there was just a huge focus on wellness, looking after yourself, mental health. And yeah, as soon as everything opened back up again, a lot of the mask rules are all gone now in Australia. People are just like, awesome, back to normal.
Yeah.
And they forgot all those processes they put in place to make sure that they were setting themselves up for like a better, healthy, longevity, like longer life. And now they're just back to partying or, you know, not looking after themselves anymore.
It's just so much has changed in the last 2 years. Oh yeah, you can switch that off. Like TikTok has just changed. Like TikTok was probably around a little bit before COVID, but it's changed the way people consume things and communicate. Like I was actually reading the other day, like there's so much info on TikTok now. So for example, like I'm looking for a few presents for you, right? For your birthday coming up.
Thank you.
So I'm like, oh, I want to buy this, but like I don't know heaps about it. So what I used to do was just like research, just like what is the best X, and then search it, right? And then once in a while I'd hit like Google Images and see like an infograph or something. Or once in a while you'd watch a 5-6 minute video on YouTube. But they kind of all, like for this particular example, none of them really hit the point that I want to know. The image doesn't provide enough information. The videos on YouTube is too long. The text on a blog is too long. I can get all the info in 1 minute on TikTok. That's the convenience. Like I'm starting to see the convenience of it, but also because things are so easy to produce on there, there's a lot of misinformation now, especially around health and science, all that sort of stuff. So there was actually, I was reading yesterday, because there's so many kids on TikTok now and there's so much misinformation, whether it be science, politics and stuff. One of the biggest, I think it's a textbook manufacturer in the US, like whatever, they just make high school textbooks and stuff. They've created their own version of TikTok. The filtering process is for the content, but it's all correct information.
Wow.
So remember back in the day, we used to have the CD-ROMs of like Britannica. It's like that kind of info, but in a 1 minute short form content that the kids are used to.
Right.
So like my point is like, there's so much information out there, TikTok, but there's also so much misinformation. So there's like goods and bads to all these things, but I don't know how I got into TikTok and stuff like that.
Well, it's just like the evolution of like platforms and content and where people source their information from, right? Like we used to, encyclopedias is what we had to, kids.
CD-ROM back in the day.
Not even that, like books.
It wasn't even internet. It was, the information was on a CD-ROM.
Yeah, floppy disk.
And you had to pull it up and search like a textbook.
Yeah. And then...
Or if you're lucky enough, you had a rich friend whose grandma had like the entire physical thing. Mm-hmm. That shit must have cost so much money back in the day.
It would have been so much. Well, people crave, or like I crave that very condensed, like quick information. Like I want it quick, right? I don't want to go through like a 5-minute video on how to do one small thing. I don't need that waffle, and I don't need to know how your day went. I just want to know. I want to know how your day went, but I don't like. I just want to know how to, you know, tie a screw on something or whatever. Like you want it to be quick and easy, and that's where a lot of these short form platforms are going anyway.
Also, you never turned that light on. You didn't do it either last week. So can you put it on the checklist. Pre-show checklist? Can you put it on now so I can see what it looks like on the camera when I'm editing?
Right now?
You just bring it over.
Okay.
Slide it on. We've got a couple of minutes left and we'll get out of here. All right. So Sarah's going to turn the lights on. Here we go.
It's a little bit of ASMR, a little bit of mood
Beautiful. We'll turn it off in 5 minutes when we wrap up. Outside of your week away, was there any sort of hustle news that you seen that wasn't work related? Anything interesting in the world that you want to discuss? I'll sit here and wait.
Like that hustle wise?
You've just been off the grid for a week doing
Literally.
karaoke, zigging all the way across Melbourne.
Karaoke. I mean, they put on like a great evening event, like with these. They had like a superhero theme, which was sweet or whatever. But like, yeah, they had.
What was your superhero? Spice? Posh Spice?
No, some of the other people were like dressing up as Ninja Turtles, and I like completely forgot. So I was like, oh,
not a superhero.
Ninja Turtles, turtles in a half shell, superpower.
It's total power.
Power, superpower, total power, superheroes.
They're not that. They're just like they're mutants. They're not super.
Yeah, but the X-Men are mutants and they're
Yeah, but they're
superheroes.
humans.
Yeah, but these are turtles.
Yeah, they're not. They don't have human DNA.
I know, but they're like tall. They know karate.
Let us know in the comments. Are Ninja Turtles super? I don't think they're heroes. They're not superheroes though.
They're super with like nunchucks and
They're
stuff.
super turtles.
Super turtles. Yeah. But yeah, I completely forgot, and I was like, I'll just pretend to be April O'Neil. That's fine. Oh, you got another one.
That's baseball.
Baseball.
Leonardo. I don't even know the colors, man. It's like how poor of a fan I am. I believe red one is Leonardo. Could be wrong. Gonna
Yes.
get blasted.
But yeah, it was a superhero theme.
Yep.
And they had like some people like dressed up in Avengers and everything. They were obviously
Real Avengers.
no, not real Avengers. But they were acrobatics or like I was about to say gymnastics. They're gymnasts or something like that because they're doing flips and everything. And then I thought that's actually a really interesting like side hustle if you think about it. So if you're an athlete, right, you do gymnastics or that kind of thing.
Before you go there, I'm gonna say former athlete because that's your main thing. You're not good at you're not good at what you do.
No, hear me out. Hear me out. Okay, hear me out. So just say it's off season or like it's not competition time or anything. And
No
you need,
athletes. Okay, yep.
yeah, but like just say you're trying to become like an athlete, right? You don't, and you're just starting out. You don't
Start
have
at
any
the
money. Like you invest all your money. You're like you're
In
working.
what?
Well, you're investing into your training or into your
Fair enough.
coaches and stuff. So
I'll
yeah.
shut up from now on. I'll stop interjecting.
Yeah. So they don't have any support or anything like that. So you need to support yourself somehow. Like, how can you use your skills or your current skill set to then earn some money as well, like doing something you love? So why not dress up as superheroes for like corporate people and like do flips and stuff around and like, I don't know, have fun and entertain? Isn't that like maybe like a little bit of a hustle?
It's kind of like that's like selling yourself out. That's like selling your skills out for corporate suits.
Or
I understand it's a great hustle. I totally get it. But
maybe
it's
they do
also
kids'
like,
parties as well.
why not just be a mascot in an NBL team?
Because there's only one of them.
Yeah, but they get to do it every weekend.
But just say if you have like a group of friends, right, you can travel around the city and do like events for everybody.
If you're a group of friends that dress up as turtles for acrobats for corporate gigs, go and find a job.
No, my friends were turtles. These were dressed up as Avengers.
Okay, maybe I'm just being too negative. So that's your hustle for the week?
Yeah. Have you seen any hustles for the
I
week at all?
haven't seen a hustle, but there's some bad stuff going on in the news.
It's not about all the data hacks and leaks and stuff.
Fuck. Why'd you just ruin the whole segue?
Oh, I'm sorry. I have this really bad habit of like, Drew will I love guessing and like trying to figure stuff
How many
out.
fingers am I holding up?
One, because you're upset at me.
Which one?
The middle one.
Correct. No, it's actually just one of these ones.
One of those ones.
Yeah,
yes.
data hacks. Yeah.
Go on.
So bad hustlers. Naughty ones. I mean, there's not much information. I don't have much of a light to shed on this, but
I have an article because I saw it before. Would you like me to share it to you?
okay. So basically, there's so much hacking going on post-COVID. Like I said, everything's changing in the last couple of years. I feel like we're going to sort of settle into like the new world in the next 12 to 18 months once this recession stuff starts to see the other side. But there's been an incredible increase in hacking activity post-COVID. I was reading there's like 110. Oh,
You
this
can
is
copy
for
and
you.
paste. Yeah.
There's been 110% increase. I don't know what country this is or if it's globally. 110% increase in hacking, like DDoS hacks, which are basically just. I'm not too familiar with hacks. I know DDoS attacks are basically they just flood a website with, like when someone wants to come to your website, there's basically a demand to like I want to enter your website sort of thing.
Right.
And then obviously depending on the bandwidth and stuff, you can allow certain people in. That's why some websites crash if there's too many users coming in. I believe a DDoS attack is where they just overwhelm a website with like too many users trying to access it at once and it crashes the website. I think that's one form, but then there's obviously like data breaches where you're just scraping data, right? So there's been like 110% increase in just hacking overall since COVID.
Far out.
So many people are at home now. Everyone's working from home, has more computers at home, more technology, probably have upgraded their internet capabilities at home just because the world's at home working, right? So naturally, there's going to be an increase in people interested in hacking and like doing the actual hacks. So for anyone in Australia, probably Australia, I need to slow down on my words. For anyone in Australia, you're probably aware that like Optus was hacked a few weeks ago. So much data has been breached. Hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of customers have had to change
driver's license,
passport numbers, on phone for hours. Obviously, Optus, the telco, have no idea how to handle the situation. No one really knows what the hell's going on. Optus clearly didn't have the best security systems in place. And then a couple of weeks have passed since then, and I believe Woolworths has been hit. A couple of other places have been hit. And the latest attack has been on Medibank, which is a private healthcare company in Australia. And like it's probably going to say in this article, but there's hundreds, again, if not thousands of 3 million attempts. Sorry, I'll just read it. Tax Office has revealed it gets 3 million attempted hacks on its systems every month. Healthcare provider Medicare is the latest high-profile company to be hit by a cyber attack. Basically, they're scraping customers' details, phone numbers, bank details, actual medical records and procedures, and, you know, doing what they want with the data. I think they've threatened to release information on like 1,000 high-profile Australians, whether they're politicians or celebrities and stuff, and they're threatening to release it unless, I guess, they get some sort of ransom or demand.
But Medibank's actually one of the they're like one of the
that's one of the biggest ones. The biggest ones in Australia. So like it's just crazy how much hacking has been going on. I don't think we've been hit as far as I know, but yeah, changing your passport or your Medicare, any sort of card at all, it means you're on the phone for hours, right? Especially if it's like a widespread thing. You're not the only person being affected. Like you're dealing with thousands of other people trying to get a hold of customer support to rectify the situation. So it's just crazy to me how this can be happening. Obviously, the more sophisticated the hackers get, the more advanced these companies have to become in like the security systems they're implementing. And it looks like just a lot of them just aren't up to scratch with like what's possible in this internet world these days. It's just wild. And I was even watching, there's a lot of floods in Melbourne right now, flooded out completely. I was watching the news last night, and there's people that have been applying for insurance claims because their house has been flooded, but there's been people scamming them and applying for their insurance claims before the person can even get to the call center.
Are you serious?
So like someone rang up, was like, yeah, my house is flooded. I want to do an insurance claim. They're like, you've claimed like 3-4 times on this in the last week already. So people are getting the data potentially from places like this, and then using a natural disaster or natural crisis to then double up on it. It's getting pretty gross out there, hey?
Yeah.
And like there's not much you can do about it.
No.
Like you have to put in your information to apply for one of these companies, to get a phone plan, to get...
Well, it's insurance.
You need
date of birth, all that kind of stuff.
So what can you do?
Well, it's like so much of our information is stored online now, and I think it's only now that our parents' generation are like, they're fully understanding like the meaning of that data and like how it's stored. Like they were like, oh yeah, I'm just going to sign up for this email here. I'm just going to input my mobile here. It's like, oh, I'm just going to put, my banking card details in there. But I think our generation was a little bit more understanding of that. So that's why we know about, using a different password for like every like login, your parents use the bloody same password for like literally everything, their internet banking, their email, their whatever login.
Yeah. It's just nothing you can do.
No.
Like, it's not like you can go, like, what are the alternatives? This is Medibank, right? How many other massive health insurance providers are there in Australia? Let's say there's 4 or 5 other ones, right? Probably 2 or 3 that have the complete control. Then some smaller other ones. But it's not like any one of them's advertising as being better than the other in terms of security. So you can't, like we were saying earlier, like, if I had a choice between a more sustainable product and like an average product, I would choose what's better for my personality and my way of life. But you don't get a choice. It's not a conversation. So it might start being an additional feature or benefit to some policies or some plans or any sort of company. Like, we will protect your data better than the competitor. But I haven't seen anyone really do that yet.
Oh, it will come 100%. Like, because with all this that's happening now, people are so much more socially conscious about it. So they'll be looking into like, how protected are these companies? Like, where is their security servers are based? Like, is anybody even talking about security? Like, you put your trust in these companies automatically, right? You pop it in thinking it's going to be safe.
Yeah.
And the last thing you expect would be someone calling you up saying you owe $500, pay now immediately. Like, it'd be horrifying to like be in that stage. But I think whether it's that transparency conversation or it's them actually putting in that conscious effort of having better practices, like I think that's going to be something that whichever customer like sort of wants, that's what they're going to be looking into.
There are a few conspiracies about why there's been so many hacks going on as well. A lot of them potentially, like I said, due to the increased internet usage, also the Ukrainian-Russian war. There are a lot of Russian hackers that are known out there. Well, they're not known who they are, but they're known that they are Russian. So there could be that whole aspect. And there is a conspiracy that it's actually instigated or planned out to set up a global world currency.
Right. Is this where it ties into like the crypto aspect or something completely different?
Well, it's sort of like, this is conspiracy. This is Reddit conspiracies. Take it with a complete grain of salt. The way that COVID was set up, there's a lot of arguments that it was set up for a reason to sort of see how, not gullible, but how persuaded the masses were to like a different way of life or to shift the way of living.
That's right. How quickly they could adapt to a new scenario.
And then a lot of people think, or probably not a lot of people, probably a small majority, but it's something to consider at the very least, that a lot of these hacks may be instigated from bigger global entities or like people in power and positions to then slowly persuade people that it's scare tactic by the media basically to like get people to start thinking about a global world currency where everyone is working on the same system, global credit score, everyone's attached to the one number, which it presents its whole own basket of problems, right? But we're not that knowledgeable to like go down that rabbit hole, but it's something to consider. And like the hacks aren't going to stop. They're going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. So like how much that's still on? Oh my God, the batteries are going great. It's something to consider, and the hacks aren't going to slow down. There's going to be more and more breaches. So it's like, what do you do? Where do you store your money? Where do you store your assets? Nothing's safe. Sooner or later, one of us is going to get hit. There's not much you can do, but they're sort of the hustles, good and bad, that we have for this week. Also, that's not really, we'll skip that one. That's not really a hustle. That's just a sad story.
What? No, you can say.
Liz Truss, the UK Prime Minister.
Oh my gosh, yeah. She like the shortest Prime Minister in term history.
It's not really a hustle. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, she's out. She lasted like 45 days.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that. She's like literally imagine that's your record. Yeah. The shortest term for Prime Minister.
She got in, the Queen died, went to the funeral, and then like 2 weeks later, we're like, we're going to do so many tax cuts. Because that's the whole thing. She was trying to do all these tax breaks, tax cuts, and that just basically tanked the pound and the bond market in the UK. But again, not too knowledgeable to like go in depth there.
No.
Plenty of podcasts out there, plenty of YouTube videos. So go and check that out. Check out all our stories we chatted about today. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Look, Mum, I'm hustling. We'll be back next week for another episode. See ya.
Bye.